Welcome to the SQ42 newsletter. Journey to ODIN, all you need to know. This white dwarf-centered system may seem outwardly cold, but its unique spectral anomalies and convenient hauling hubs make it well worth the visit. As long as you're not expecting a handshake and a cup of cocoa. Discover the once vibrant Fortune's Cross station, explore the treacherous tunnels of the COIL, and feel the magnetic pull of the system's glorious auroras. Before you visit, be sure to download your very own map with all the information you'll need to keep safe and keep flying. From the QS42 development team. Development continues tracking towards our intended release in 2026, and we hope you've been enjoying this year's new direction for the Squadron 42 newsletter, as it continues on its new quarterly schedule. We'll reveal more when we get closer to the game's launch, and until then, we hope you'll pardon our heads-down approach as we work to achieve that milestone. In the meantime, we invite you to check out what the Star Citizen team is up to at this year's CitizenCon Direct, airing Saturday, October 11th at 8 p.m. UK. Keep exploring the Squadron 42. Newsletter provides an exclusive look behind the scenes at the next chapter in cinematic sci-fi storytelling. Stay informed on development, enjoy themed spotlights, surprises, and be the first to hear news and announcements as we reach upcoming milestones. Jump points, KELLOG, NX, and TANGA. Despite its checkered reputation, ODIN acts as an oasis of the UEE in this corner of the universe. Directly connected to the KELLOG system, which enjoys UEE protection under the Fair Chance Act, and the two unclaimed systems of NX and TANGA. ODIN 4. No one sets foot on this gas giant, but its volatile yet beautiful atmosphere makes it well worth a flyby. Travellers can refuel at one of many facilities orbiting the planet while taking in the breathtaking beauty of ODIN 4's hypnotising auroras. Fortune's Cross. Though its glory days are past, Fortune's Cross remains a lifeline for adventure-worn travellers and their ships. Straight off the Kessel Highway, the station has been battered by years of economic decline, yet still serves as a commercial staple of the system and popular transport hub for workers entering and leaving ODIN.
We'll be introducing new space stations on a massive scale, all brought together and designed to be as tangible as possible. We've thought about their function, their age, and tried to ensure there's a progression in artistic style with each station as you progress through the game. As you can see today, the teams are working incredibly hard, ramping up the detail and quality to match the breadth of our vision for Squadron 42.
ODIN IA. Also known as Gainy, this former moon has the rare distinction of orbiting Odin's sun and not a planet, though it still drifts near the ruins of its late parent, Odin I. Gainy once played home to many fracking and gas refinement plants until tectonic instability forced their relocation.
This is the final phase of gameplay iteration before we fully transition into optimization and stability on the road to release.
Agent Trejo, this is Colton. Come back. Always trips me out to see terraforming setups like this. Webb tried explaining how atmosphere processors work. Really shows how far we've come. At polishing.
With the aim now on polish, we've organised the project into self-sufficient strike teams, so we can focus on individual areas to deliver the best experience.
Get out of sight, the cutlass is gonna spot you.
This allows us to bring all disciplines together with a unified vision of enhancing the gameplay by seamlessly blending it with polished visuals, final cinematic performances, and our ever-improving technology.
You didn't see the boat, kid. You're good to keep going.
We're also dialing in gameplay features, such as the ship flight model, for both atmosphere and space, which covers master modes, control surfaces, and our gold standard HUD and MFDs.
The COIL ODIN. If you're looking for ODIN I, you'll be looking a long time. All that remains of the system's first planet is a cosmic phenomenon known as the COIL, created when the system's star collapsed.
Throughout the game. So if you do fly into a volume that you can't really see far in front of, just prepare for the unexpected. It also gives us the luxury of potential Easter eggs here and there and whatnot, which is kind of nice from a design point of view. But generally, it's not advised to go in. There is going to be systems fed into the flight model that will kind of complement everything that's going on with this. So should you fly into a risky area, there will be a degree of turbulence that starts to vibrate your cockpit. Instrumentation panels will start to malfunction. Generally, it will go much further than just visuals, right? So it needs to feel like you're in a place that you're not supposed to be.
Took that and said, okay, we're taking this as a direction of how it should feel and look inside the coil, and let's try and expand out of that as well. So we built tunnel routes down to it. We tried to fit, like, how does it feel when you traverse it inside this thing? There was a lot of development that went into that. Some of it you see in the final version in the live stream. Again, some of it was kind of throwaway. We didn't use it in the end, but it really defined what we wanted for this stuff. It's important not only to define the form and the volume of what the coil is, but how does it feel? How does it look at any point? Not just specific locations in the live stream, but also locations for the rest of the game as well. Like, this is going to be a huge part of the game. So, and we've got a lot of content inside the coil. So defining how that looks and feels is important to us. Really late on in development, we're talking maybe a week or two before we went live. We had a direction change on it. What we had made was looking pretty cool. When we started really early on in development, we did a lot of, rather than big open spaces with this volumetric technology, we did more confined closed spaces, so tunnel systems that connect together. As a player, navigating these tunnels feels cool. So maybe we can look to bring some of that back in as well. And we've got different mission-specific locations in Squadron, connecting them with cool tunnels. Design would love that as well, because it gives them an opportunity to get some flighted gameplay in there. Like the stuff that we made for the live stream, when you come out from Shubin to the outside of the coil, yeah, it felt cool, but you didn't really recognize it as being a volumetric entity until
COIL to say, yes, there's a shadow here. So we don't want to have to update all of them every time we change the coil. That is a challenge because it has to talk to a load of other systems, but at the same time, it's quite similar to how we have to do atmospheric scattering. So I'm kind of assuming that we're going to be able to kind of like thread into, generalize the path that the atmospheric scattering's using, and sort of talk to the system through the same hole.
Before you arrived. Crafting interesting flight spaces and their connecting tissue has been one of the more unique challenges we've needed to overcome for Squadron. Developing our VDB tech to blend seamlessly between tighter traversal spaces and into wider space vistas and planets has proved incredibly difficult but rewarding, ensuring that Squadron flows seamlessly from one chapter to the next without interruption.
ODIN 3. Though easily overlooked, ODIN 3 offers insight into the history of the system, making it home to several ongoing scientific endeavors.
Yeah, I really like the debris coming down from the atmosphere. It's a fun
Yeah,
thing.
well, I mean, they're meant to be these, bits of the decaying satellites breaking off and coming down, and then you would sort of get an indication about the AA guns because they're sort of shooting the ones that are getting close. And then here, like, again, our sort of radar and contacts thing isn't happening, but if you got closer, you would sort of see the indication, a signal of the AA guns and the fact that you could potentially getting in radar range, and then see that's why you would want to duck down low. So this is sort of almost the idea with it in the final implementation is it's almost like a stealth approach, like your Solid Snake or someone doing.
Yeah,
but you're trying to keep low and keep out of the sight, get out of the radar, and if you get up too high, suddenly you'd feel the radar pulse against you, and if you're too long, it'll detect you, so then you got to drop down.
Totally in line with what you were saying before, which is just the readability of the player. Like, for example, I'm sure people watch this and go, well, why the heck is this guy flying this low? This is kind of a dangerous approach to make. But yeah, it's a dangerous approach because it's under the radar, like literally under the radar. There's AA guns firing, there's these kind of things. So this is a choice that the player will make should they want to approach it like this, not guns blazing and trying to take out a whole bunch of turrets or something like this. So it's definitely something we have to work on in terms of the readability. But again, we just wanted to get it all together so you had a full playthrough experience. And then it's a matter of us playing these a bunch of times and going, oh, actually, yeah, we need to tell that a little better, or we need to inform the player a tiny bit more. Look this direction, move this direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like they sort of,
The sun
the HUD read and all the rest of the stuff in terms of like your traversal and where you're going, or whether you're getting a radar signal, or like you're getting scanned or anything.
Yeah,
we would sort of need that. But yeah, I love this. I mean, this stuff.
Where he's following the pipes.
Well, and also just the feel, right? The clouds,
definitely.
the sun in the background, and here's sort of a cutaway where we're cutting away to show.
And this is why you're flying under the radar, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And if you actually went up, they would be shooting at you and stuff like that. So, and it is a sandbox, right? So you could try to risk that if you wanted
sure.
to.
Yeah, you can make it.
But that's like a still from a movie or something. It's fantastic. And we didn't really show it, but you have a journal and from Trejo where she sort of called out the different areas. So as you would be coming along to the base up here in a bit, she would have marked the possible entrances. Like, okay, here's the back abandoned entrance. Maybe we can sneak in the back here, which is what we're going to do. Or here's the main landing pad where the slavers are coming in and out. But she's basically downloaded a bunch of her research on the slavers, and then as you're moving around, you can use that to figure out.
Yeah, okay, basically, she figured out that this is where they were holed up. So she was trying to plan out assaults. So she was like, you get her notes of basically how she would assault it if she wanted to try different things and stuff. And then once you see the specific things that she's calling out, whether it's the AA guns and stuff, you can access her sort of journal notes about that type of thing and hear commentary.
And all this stuff here on the Gainy Moon is all the same technologies you guys are having in the PU right now.
ACIEDO Station. Surrounded by a vast network of comm relays, this ACIEDO station acts as the primary nexus to manage ODIN's communications network and keeps the system's inhabitants connected.
For the most part, I would kind of expect people to kind of come into these mess halls, and again, you can start to see that, as you said, kind of half-eaten meals, or kind of people have been prepping stuff, and it's been kind of abandoned. So
there's
one
no
of the things,
table with blood on it from a xenomorph or anything that's come out of anyone's chest or anything, I hope.
No, nothing like that just yet, but
not yet.
You never know. And one of the things, like right now, obviously a lot of these props are just kind of like placed in there, but we imagine that when players kind of come into these spaces, that a lot of these things will be kind of physicalized, and you can actually pick them up, obviously, throw things around the room. There'll obviously be certain things to kind of interact with, things to read. You can kind of see over here, like people have been playing cards. I'm sure you can obviously pick the cards up and the baseball, bat, and so on. Let's see where this leads us. So basically, once we kind of come away from the habitation, we start to move in towards what is essentially the skywalk. And I'll actually take this route. So we kind of saw some of this in the video very early on. And as you can see, it's, you know, it does look very clean, and like there's obviously some stuff that's been kind of stacked up here. One of the things we're still kind of in the process of doing is kind of adding dressing to some of these elements, so you can kind of see, like, we will be kind of adding more kind of elements into these rooms and spaces, and part of that is something that will change, and it will be an ongoing process, very close until release. And that's because basically we'll be in here, we'll obviously be working, we'll have AI like running around and going into combat, and we want to kind of get the balance right, so there's a nice kind of level between these.
Yeah. This is all traversable by the player right now, yeah?
Yeah, so like I said, this is obviously an editor, so if I hit Control G, for example, I'm actually in game now. So again,
I take it you've switched the AI layer off, so we're not into a world of chaos.
Yeah, so right now this is just kind of like it as it's kind of intended, like from a visual and artistic standpoint. Obviously the level is fully traversable, doors all work and everything, so if I come down here, but one of the things is that we're obviously kind of, AI is an ongoing process, and you know, like obviously live demoing at this point, like anything could happen, so we're just trying to save ourselves a little bit of pain right now from showing too much stuff basically. But you can again kind of come into there, you can see a lot of these kind of like personal effects and things that kind of add to the kind of life of the space. I think you've got like more kind of random codes and stuff that the artists have been putting on the whiteboards. Obviously be curious to see what's on them in the final game, but and then we kind of move in, like this is the kind of the server room, for example.
That's kind of what I was saying before about the telecom exchanges. They've got an inspiration from those, really. They look really cool, but futurized.
Yeah, and these spaces, you know, it does look really cool. And one of the other things that we're quite keen on for a lot of these spaces, as I briefly touched on, is we want to have a lot of kind of interactables and kind of things to do in the environment. So if you imagine you're kind of sneaking through this space, and it's obviously very kind of like there are enemies in here and you're trying to avoid them because you want to take a stealth approach. Something either you could do or the AI could actually do is actually come over to one of these terminals and then kind of interact with some of the screens, and then basically like get access to these server racks, and you could actually interact with them and then have them kind of lower into the floor. And suddenly what becomes like a nice place for kind of sneaking around with the stealth suddenly can become totally exposed with no kind of cover.
Exactly.
And the player can kind of use that to their advantage, and equally AI can use that to the player's disadvantage. So
yeah, it's like I was saying before, those things will become a stimulus for AI. So even if somebody's in the room next door, you know, they might potentially hear that and go, you know, what the hell's going on next door?
Exactly, yeah.
Check out.
And speaking of next door,
I guess as a player, that would make me mad if I think I'm being all stealthy and I flag the AI, hear me. Next thing you know, all my cover disappears to the ground.
If you're switching heavy machinery on in the room next door,
yeah,
and this is the thing as well, is that, and this is kind of what moves into our steps as we kind of move forward towards release. Basically, is we're trying to basically get the AI to kind of do stuff that kind of feels like cool and original, and obviously like compelling to the kind of experience, but at the same time, not kind of like the player thinks they're doing okay and they're like perfectly stealthing around, and then suddenly everything disappears. So if we just kind of move back into this room, for example, you know, maybe like a guy's kind of working on, let's say, the terminal that's over here. He comes over, you know, maybe he's got his back turned to you, and he's kind of like he's working on here, and then he lowers just one or two of these terminals. But let's say you're kind of sneaking up behind him, and then suddenly the thing you're planning to use as backup cover disappears. It then, because he's got his back to you, it gives you a couple of seconds to kind of go, okay, well, I'm going to hide behind this one instead.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, you know, or you could obviously try and take him out quickly. And this is, again, something that kind of we feed into with our next kind of step, which is obviously kind of balancing the AI out and trying to find out like how much noise is too much. Because something else that we want to do is, like in this environment, for example, I would expect it to be quite noisy, like just in general. So
yeah,
we actually want it to be so that noise in an environment affects how noisy the player can be. So if you're obviously kind of in an engineering kind of space and there's loads of machinery going on around you, you would expect the player to kind of be able to walk around fairly normally and not be detected or kind of be heard. Whereas if we're kind of in a space that's like really quiet and like you can hear every footstep, we would expect the AI to kind of pay attention to you a lot easier. So it's also about reading them.
Sorry, I was going to say, even if you've blown your cover, I mean, the AI don't all sort of run after you like a football team or whatever. If they know you, they'll sort of hunker down and take sort of ambush places and things like that. So the whole focus is on the AI being believable in these spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, and that's something we'll kind of cover actually in a little bit when we talk a little bit more about the plans for the AI and stuff. But here we can actually see the gravity room, and this is basically the gravity drive that's essentially kind of powering all the gravity inside the station. And when we're kind of talking about like interactions and stuff as well, this is quite cool, because if we come into here, we can actually come to like, this is intended to be like one of the main kind of terminals for the entire station that kind of controls a lot of the power elements. And something, if I actually go this way, and kind of move back through this space, I think the door's sealed actually because it's this is the airlock, so I can actually cheat, seeing as we're in editor, and kind of fly down. You can actually see that this is the kind of secret crow's nest that I was talking about earlier. So if players were to kind of sneak in this way, they can actually get like a kind of quick early access to these sections, basically. And again, if a player comes up to some of these locations and doesn't think or doesn't want to try and interact with these terminals, that's totally up to them, and that's will affect their experience. But for somebody who wants to kind of try and find out another way of doing something, like maybe you can interact with this, and then you could probably shut down the power for like 90% of the station, or we're still kind of figuring out what happens with like oxygen levels and so on. So that's a potential maybe.
That's cool. That opens up so many different avenues as far as how you approach things, and again, as I was saying earlier, cause and effect, right?
Exactly.
Right. Present these play spaces, for the players, and they can sort solve almost all of them in any way they want to within the sort of environment, within the sort of systems and tools that we've spent a long time developing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where the fun part comes in towards the end of development, where we're basically trying to, all these kind of systems come together, and we're basically trying to make them work without causing infinite problems for the player.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Or the AI.
It's not an easy thing to sort, right? There's so many different variables that you need to balance, and some intentionally you don't balance, right? Because what stops somebody from guns blazing, going in as loud and dirty as they can, versus somebody who wants to do it stealth, or somebody who rides the middle. I mean, it's cool. Each one becomes its unique experience, in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just again kind of moving around the station, as we kind of seen the skywalks earlier. So this is actually the other side, and something that I kind of talked about at the very start was the fact that ACIEDO was a kind of like decommissioned communication station, and obviously everything I've shown up to this point is kind of operational and kind of lights on and everything's working. So you can actually see here that this side of the station is a lot more kind of in darkness, and it's kind of been left to kind of rot essentially.
I was going to say, it looks like they need a good mopping on this side,
Do you?
It's cool having the tarpaulins and the sheets and things over everything as well.
Yeah, and this is something as well that helps us kind of going back to what I was saying about the AI in these spaces, and kind of talking about like the player understanding where they are. So like from here, obviously, aside from the fact you've got this really nice kind of vista looking outside, like just kind of looking at the shot, it's quite obvious where the middle of the station is as opposed to the outside.
Correct.
Because you've just got the kind of the smaller radius on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of decommissioned side also kind of gives us the opportunity to basically distinguish the two different sides of the walkway. So like here, for example, we can obviously, this is clearly a different side to the station from the skywalk that's in decent condition. So there are a kind of multitude of reasons for why we have things like this.
It's cool. It's really cool to see.
Door, the window.
No, it's really cool to see the progress. I haven't seen it the walkthrough to this extent for a while, and last time I did it, it definitely wasn't this far along.
Yeah, and like even from someone who kind of works on these levels day in day out, like you kind of forgetting a lot of times because you're working on in a kind of vacuum or a bubble about the spaces that you're in, and then every now and then you see something like, oh my god, this is actually really cool. Like, I mean, again, just kind of like the visuals on this, like this is kind of in editor, this is me playing it in real time, so
yeah,
it's not kind of faked in any way. It's really cool. And again, like if I just kind of fly out, you can, like even with the character still in game, you pretty much you can see everything essentially. And just to clarify, I do have God mode on as well, so
it's all right.
That's why I'm not suddenly suffocating.
I kept seeing it pop up, so talking about your med pin.
ODIN 2. Theorized to have existed within the system's green zone back when the star was alive, the uninhabitable surface only has a few research facilities. ODIN II's moon, Vili, houses several transfer hubs that make an adequate stop for haulers transporting hazardous materials from the planet. The ODIN system. The ODIN system is a planetary system in the United Empire of Earth UEE. It is made up of 2 Chthonian planets, 1 gas giant, an unusual cosmic anomaly, and a white dwarf star. The anomaly was created when the first planet in the system was destroyed by its star, leaving behind a unique asteroid field beset by constant electrical storms. Corporations and research facilities that deal in dangerous materials conduct testing on ODIN 2